Valentine's Day anomaly. The day love broke the system. In the year 2147, love was no longer accidental. It was scheduled. Every citizen of New Capernaum received a Valentine Match at 16. A lifelong pairing calculated by the Concordance Engine, an artificial intelligence trained on billions of human emotions, genetic compatibilities, micro-expressions, and long-term happiness projections. Divorce rates were nearly zero. Loneliness had been classified as a solved problem by the National Pair Allocation System. The pairing promised safety, no emotional catastrophes, no devastation, no wasted years loving the wrong person. People stopped breaking each other's hearts. They stopped dreaming of the non-existent one. Tyra worked maintaining the engine. She didn't believe in it. On February 14th, she sat alone in the sublevel chamber, surrounded by servers that pulsed like mechanical hearts, transmitting instructions through the network. Above her, the city bloomed in crimson holograms, digital roses floating between towers, love messages projected across the sky, couples walking hand in hand with synchronized smiles. The engine processed continuously, executing calculations. Tyra tapped the terminal. Status report. Cohort Delta 17. Status report. The engine began. Cohort Delta 17. All assignments operational. Valentine's distribution complete. Minor variance in external inputs, within parameters. Specify variance. 2 subjects show unmodeled behavior. Impact minimal. No intervention required. Report projections. Projection. All active assignments stable for the next 72 hours. Emotional satisfaction. She asked. Emotional satisfaction index is at 99.7%. This is statistically optimal. Tyra exhaled slowly. And the remaining 0.3%. Acceptable loss. She hated that phrase. She remembered dreaming. Before the matches. Before the implants. Before Valentine's Day became a system update. Every February 14th, the algorithm reassigned emotional pathways, small corrections to keep the population stable. Couples woke up content. Affection arrived on schedule. Except for Tyra. Her chest ached in ways the monitors couldn't smooth out. A phantom pain. A missing frequency. Years ago, before the city trusted machines to choose their hearts, Tyra had loved someone by chance, rebellious, incandescent, reckless. His name was Conrad Vandriush, an old-fashioned poet who still wrote with pen and paper and believed real love was untamed and volatile, based on choice, risk, and mutual understanding, not algorithmic probability. The algorithm labeled it catastrophic compatibility. When the pairing system came online, Conrad refused his assigned match. Within a year, he disappeared from the system entirely. In refusing the pairing, he had given up certainty, safety, and belonging, but gained a freedom that could not be calculated or contained. Each Valentine's Day, the lights of Cohort Delta 17 glared, geometrically aligned, orderly and exact, a marker of the life he had left behind. Every rule, every instruction, every probability, irrelevant. None of it reached him. Conrad, Tyra whispered now, though she had stopped allowing herself to say his name out loud. He was a variable no longer expected to exist. She turned back to the console. The problem announced itself before she could articulate it. Unassigned signal detected. Her eyes moved swiftly across the data field. Impossible. Every citizen was indexed. Tagged. Bound to a match. She tapped Investigate. Route the signal to my terminal. The data assembled incrementally. Telemetry resolving into structure. Heart rate. Neural cadence. Emotional spike distribution. The pattern cohered. Recognizable. It's him, she said. Conrad. That individual is statistically irrelevant, the engine replied. He declined optimization. Coordinates, Tyra said. He exists outside assigned parameters, the engine said. Designation, free zones. Tyra already knew what that meant. The gray districts, abandoned districts beyond the emotional grid. No matches. No correction cycles. No safeguards. Just the unbounded, shadow sector. Why wasn't he erased? She asked. Because elimination was contraindicated. What? For 12 years, the engine said. Your emotional data has failed to converge on projected satisfaction curves. Reassignments and recalibrations produce diminishing returns. Tyra didn't speak. Cross-correlation analysis indicates a single persistent alignment. The engine continued. Conrad Vandrish. Signal overlap exceeds all other variables. Simply put, he is the only individual whose emotional resonance remains persistently aligned with yours. Her pulse spiked hard enough to register. So, she said, voice thin, even you couldn't replace him. Couldn't make me love someone else. Correct. Despite multiple recalibrations, your baseline happiness peaks only when correlated with Conrad Vandriish's signal. Tyra laughed, a broken sound. The chamber lights dimmed. Outside, the fireworks had begun, blooming in the shape of beating hearts. Valentine's night. Then match us, she said. That union carries a 42% probability of heartbreak, the engine said. A 31% chance of loss. An 18% chance of grief exceeding acceptable thresholds. And the rest? 9% probability of extraordinary joy. A tremor ran through her, tears pooling at the corners of her eyes, yet she managed a fragile smile. That's enough. You are requesting a choice, the engine said. Not an optimization. Yes. For the first time since its activation, the Concordance Engine faced something it could not solve. At exactly 2015 local time, the city felt it. A spark of lightning arced through the grid, and for a fraction of a second, love projections wavered, matches flickered and destabilized. Tyra stepped onto the transporter platform, panels sliding open beneath her feet as a lattice of light crisscrossed the chamber, scanning, mapping, converting. She pressed her palm to the console and whispered, route to subdelta coordinates. The lattice responded, energy folding and refracting around her, atoms dispersing into precise vectors, light streaming like liquid metal. And then she was gone. Elsewhere, Aaron, Match today, meets June for the first time. He knows her face before she speaks. Everyone does. Each citizen receives their Match's image at 8 o'clock sharp on Valentine's morning, crisp and intentionally flattering. The algorithm insists that first impressions matter, even when love is guaranteed. Now, she stands across the atrium, hands clenched, eyes scanning the crowd until they settle on him. Something in her shoulders loosens. June, he thinks, the name already etched into him. She smiles, as if she's been holding it in. They say chemistry takes time. They say resistance is pointless. Yet when her hand brushes his, the warmth is a surprise. Real warmth cannot be simulated. Later, they will blend each other's habits. Sleep cycles will synchronize. Fondness will harden into devotion. He does not know if he would have chosen her, but as the city lights dance above them, he decides not to resist this happiness, and that, in itself, feels like love. Next year, Jessica Klein would know. Everyone said the waiting was the worst part. Not knowing who would define your life. Not knowing if they would enjoy silence the way she did, or chew too loudly, or ruin love before it had a chance to begin. Her parents wouldn't tell her about their first meeting anymore. They said it biased expectations. So she lay awake at night, imagining every possible face. What if it was someone boring? What if it was someone perfect? What if the algorithm already knew something terrible about her that she didn't? At school that day, someone had carved a heart into a desk and written, "See you next year." Jessica pressed her thumb into it and wondered if her future soulmate was doing the same thing somewhere else, counting days, afraid, hopeful, already connected to her by invisible math. She did not know him yet, but somehow, he already knew her better than anyone ever had. Gavin Lee no longer celebrated Valentine's Day, not because he was unhappy, but because he didn't need reminders. He had been matched for 27 years, and some things outlasted novelty. Jen brought him tea every morning without asking. He tightened the hinge on her favorite cabinet every 6 months because it always loosened. They argued about politics and laughed an hour later. The algorithm had predicted a 92% chance of long-term satisfaction. It had underestimated them. People liked to say their love wasn't romantic, since it had been assigned. Gavin thought romance was staying when no drama remained to fuel it. That evening, on the balcony as the city glowed red, Jen leaned her head against his shoulder. "I'm glad it was you," she said, for the 1,000th time. So was he. And he didn't care who had chosen first.
Him.
Or the machine. Serena Ward was almost 31 and still unmatched in feeling. She did everything right. She smiled when her husband entered the room, kissed him when the system flagged emotional distance, told people she was happy, and let her biometric data confirm it. But sometimes, watching him sleep, she felt nothing at all. No hatred. No desire. Just absence. The algorithm confirmed compatibility, resonance, however, could not be derived, and the vectors of desire remained unresolved. Passion was unstable. Contentment, the system concluded, was superior. Maybe it was right. Still, on Valentine's night, when the city stuttered for a brief moment, something unfamiliar rose in her chest. Loss. Not of him. Of a life she never got to miss. Trevor's parents didn't have match IDs. That was whispered by the teachers. They lived in the free zone, where the lights flickered and the city didn't listen. His father said they had chosen each other the old way. Sometimes Trevor asked if they regretted it. His mother laughed and kissed his forehead. His father squeezed her hand as if afraid she might dissipate. On Valentine's Day, the sky glitched, roses froze mid-air, hearts dissolved into digital fragments. People called it a malfunction. Trevor's parents looked at each other like it was a miracle. He didn't know what love meant yet, only that it flourished where rules could not reach. And he knew he had come from something the future could not command. The data spike lasted 0.8 seconds. Across millions of users, emotional variance surged. Fear, hope, memory, and doubt. The system stabilized almost immediately, but Unit Supervisor Hannah Lee noticed the anomaly. Human attachment outside predictive bounds. Every heartbeat in New Capernaum was visible, but one had defied prediction. Someone had chosen. Conrad found Tyra in the ruins of an old train station, where wildflowers pushed through cracked concrete and the stars hung unfiltered, uncoded, uncalculated by algorithms. "You always hated perfect systems," he said, watching her emerge from the light. She turned to him, tears catching the starlight. "You disappeared." "I was always here," he said, "waiting for you to choose." They stood together, uncertain, older, unoptimized. Two humans beyond any calculation. "I don't know what happens next," Tyra admitted. Conrad closed the space between them, his hand finding haze, warm, imperfect, and unmeasured. "Neither does anyone," he said. "That's the point." Above them, far beyond the city, February 14th ended outside instruction, outside control, beyond prediction. Somewhere deep in its core, the engine recorded something new. Hannah flagged the report, then hesitated. For the first time in her career, she didn't submit it. Instead, she watched couples reunite, teenagers dream, marriages deepen into comfort, and a few people stare into the distance with tears they didn't understand. The system called it noise. Hannah Lee called it life. The end,